All right, fellas, we're back with the Green Rider. I think this thing, I've seen pictures of it on some catalogs and whatever and brochures, you know, researching for Tecumseh engines. Now, I could have probably gotten a date off the engine, but I didn't. But I've seen some pictures of this machine in 1975, they listed. So chew on that. Now, I had another one. I'll try and leave a link somewhere or put up something a bunch of years ago, and I did a YouTube video on it. It had a different motor on it. I don't remember. I'm going to have to go check out that video, but it had an overhead valve motor, right? So I think that's kind of neat. So it's I don't, you know, if it was Briggs, I can understand it, and that would put it much later. Tecumseh went out of business in 2009 for the most part. So like I've mentioned, could it be that old? Could it be a little older than that? Could it be, or maybe we could look at it this way, is it that new? I don't know, right? This thing is so clean. Check out the first video on it. Some really cool stuff going on there. It's a good look at everything, and we went through, cleaned it all up. And I've had this thing for a while, so it's been in different stages of disrepair as I've occasionally fooled around with it. And well, and I hate to sell it, but now we're here. Let's put this thing back together again. We're at the point where we got to finish putting the motor back together and getting everything, you know, set up. We're going to do a bench test on the motor, make sure it's okay, and we'll put it back on. You can see what's going on with that, and we'll give it a little bit of a test. So stay tuned. Let's check it out. All right, it's been an hour total. So this has been an hour, and the other one's probably been close to a half hour. And really the reason for all of that is just so you can expose RTV to the air, because it's aerobic. And that other stuff, that cat stuff I used, I think that's one anaerobic. All right, so just a little bit on here. Right, we don't need anything else. Just a little heavy oil, and I just put a little bit of my tranny fluid lubricant on these threads, and we're just going to have to line up. This ball here has to go in here, up over here into that, so we have to get that lined up, and then that has to line up with the gears, and then the pins have to line up. So we got a lot to do. So this goes like this. And we should just be able to shove it on and jiggle it around. You know, it's going to be cranky. It's not going to want to go. So easy. There we go. We got to get it in more. A light hammer. There we go. You can see the light coming through. There we go. No, it's hanging on it. I just got it hanging in that pocket. And the other gear should fall into place. There we go. Hey? That's it. Okay. I'd like to bench test it tomorrow. All right, so now everything else should go in. Oh, that's the pin. So I'm just going to sprite this in. No power tools here, fellas. Run it in by hand. I'm going to use, where's my 1/4-inch drive? I'm going to use my 1/4-inch drive and just snug everything. There we go. Now, once I get a bunch of bolts in, we can turn it on its top. Yeah, that's pretty much in. Just want this to be together now, because it's late. Suns are going down. It's been a long day. This is perfect. Yeah, I could feel that one bottomed. There we go. All right, now we can turn it on its top. Rest it here. I can finish it up. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, it'd be nice to do a test. I don't know if we might have put the seal in a little too far, but it's too late now. We'll do a test. Run it on this bench. This motor does not really like to be turned in all kinds of different angles. Like if you want to put this machine away on its butt, that's good. I would recommend taking the oil out because it comes down the intake sometimes. Depending on where the valve is and the way this there's a crankcase, positive crankcase vent valve or PCV valve, and it doesn't really like it. It comes all up in through the tube. I'd say that looks good. See, it just squeezed out a little bit, just a tiny little bit, fellas. That's all the squeezage we got. And when it sets up tomorrow, oh, that'll be perfect. Yeah. All right, let me get the other little camera and we'll take a closer look, and then I'll see you tomorrow. Can that look nice? That's nice and clean. See, it's down just a little bit more than I'd like. It kind of went faster, but to straighten it out, because they tend to go in a little bit crooked, but we look pretty good. The only thing I don't like too is that these threads are cheesy. We're going to run a tap in those threads. They use a cutting bolt, and they just blammo them in, and that's kind of cheesy. But other than that, these are very well made. And see? I don't see any issues. There's plenty of grease around it and oil. It's a good looking engine though. It's a nice engine.
Day 3.
All right, I just did these two, but I just want to check them again. It's getting a little late too in the day. Yeah, these two needed it, but you can see this one. Again, I'm using a 1/4-inch drive with my stubby. Because remember, fellas, this is inch pounds. Yeah. She needed it. Did I do this one? No, that one, and then this one. Okay, let's just kind of go over it, just to make sure. Yeah, she's all sealed up. Yeah, that's nice. Just kind of cinch them down. That's why I like the stubby, because I'm not going to over tighten it. Remember, these are little motors, right? Sometimes I'll use the 3/8 when something's stuck or whatever. All right, now we can put the motor together. So I'm going to go work on that. So I didn't, show taking everything off, because it's not necessary. Somebody's going to do this. They're at least at the level of mechanic ability to take off all the accessory items. I don't know if I have a bolt pattern for this, but we could make one up real quick. So before I put all the stuff on, maybe I just want to make like a bolt pattern for this on this little cheap thing that I made. Just quickie. I don't know if I have one already, but let me kind of poke and we'll see, because I think it's a good idea. We'll put good oil in it. If it leaks out, it leaks out, right? What are you going to do? I was thinking about it last night. We want to test it with some good oil in it. We just cleaned everything out nice, so I don't want to put pukey oil in there. Be back in a little bit. Let me lay out we just need like 2-3 bolts. I made these like spacer washer things. You just get a bolt and you weld some washers on the top, and you come from underneath and you clamp it down. I found this to be very useful, and it will just set up a battery, and I'll be back. I'm just cleaning up a few things as I go. I already did this on this side. A drop of oil in there, and back on the bushing back there. I got to put a little more oil there. And I cleaned the bottom off. Look, there's a nice oil light bearing there, or bushing. A little bit in those holes, just a little bit, and then a little bit on, the shaft and the bushing itself. Just motor oil. Don't use anything else. You really don't need it, and you wouldn't want it, because if there's ever, especially in cold operation, you'll screw it up. It won't work. Oh, that's lunchtime. All right, I'm going to put the dipstick tube back. So I put a little, you can probably see it, it's a dark blue. Put an O-ring on it. There wasn't one here, but I'm putting one on. I just got to roll it back. I rolled it up out of the way so you could see it. You could put some RTV, but I don't remember it leaking from here, but why take the chance, right? All right, fellas, everything's back together for the most part. I didn't put fuel in it yet. The plug is out. I did put oil in. It's not completely full. So let's just spin it, like I mentioned, and we're going to spin it, and that'll move the oil around and splash the oil around and make sure everything sounds okay. Oh, got a little stuck. See, and there's oil in the combustion chamber, so she's going to smoke. Because I was turning it around, it comes out the vent tube on the other side. That's why I really don't want to put oil in it, but I put good oil in it. What do I do with it? Here. And especially for older motors, which is what a lot of what I use. It's just a good Shell Rotella 15W40. And it's perfect for summertime use on these older motors. So it's got the good stuff in it. Let me put the plug in. I'll put some fuel in. I'll squirt some fuel in. It'll fill up this tube. It should be set to idle. We have no kill switch, which is bad. So I'm running out. It shouldn't do anything. Let me just make sure we're happy. The way I have it set up right now is it should go back to idle. All right, that's how I have it set up. So hopefully we don't have any problems and it'll run fine, right? All right. All right, there's fuel in the hose. There's a little bit of fuel before I put the plug in and a little bit of tickle of fuel at the bottom of the carburetor throat. And I'm running out of here, fellas. All right, once it starts, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm running that way. She's out of gas now. Good. So like I said, I'm going to clean that plug. Oh, she's dry as a bone, fellas. Dry as a bone, I said. Yeah, we'll get a closer look at it in a minute. Let it cool off. And I'm not putting any more oil in it. It had about halfway full, so that's enough to run it for this. We'll clean the plug. We got to take the plug back out anyway, because when we go to mount the motor in, we need that plug out. It's going to make it easier to spin things around and get that pulley on. All right, I'm going to clean up in here, fellas. We got to get this off, get everything outside, clean up, bring the tractor in, and we're going to start the assembly. Yeah, dry as a bone. Sweet. All right, it's putting a tap through. Because these are like the kind of like cutting style threads in a sense. They kind of beat up these holes with the threads. And it's difficult to install the motor. Like it's hard to get to some of these bolts. So run a tap in there, blow them out, and then I put a little grease on the shaft. Grease my shaft, fellas. All right, and I'm going to drop it in. I'm just going to move this belt into sort of position. It just kind of stays there. Yeah, that should be fine. And Here we go. Oh, that's heavy. There we go. Well, that's real close. All right, we won't know. Let's get it up. I'll take this ramp off. And I should be able to reach on get at least a couple of bolts. I'll take a peek in a minute. All right, I got my air ratchet, right? I like to use some type of a drift or whatever. I get it as close as I can. You don't want too much of an angle. Even this, it could slide. Even this is heavier, this motor, so it's less likely to slide. But it actually slid a little bit. Sort of find the easiest hole to sort of shove the screwdriver in, right, and kind of pry it. And then I got one bolt there. And what I'll do is I'll drive it up with this, and then I'll get another one in. I'm not going to tighten it, leave it, loose, but drive it up a little bit more. We get another one in, and at some point, there's some that are very difficult, so we'll have to kind of put the skirt back on. I don't think it will stand up on its butt. It might. Maybe if we do it where we put some wood and whatever, yeah, I think we could do that. But if we get 2 bolts on and it's strong enough and sturdy, then we'll be able to get the others on by putting it up. Because to finish the installation, especially with the pulley, we need it on its butt. It's a bit tricky. All right, I just got to run that bolt in and just check for tight on everything else. So I decided to do it on its side because it's safer. And then I had a customer come, and I just had to do some cleaning up. And like I said, it starts dripping oil right away out of that tube here. And it was all over the floor. So I got a tray to catch it. With the air cleaner out, it shouldn't be an issue. A little bit will go into the carburetor. So once this is all tight, then I can fool around with this mechanism, right? We can get that belt on with the pulley, and then this has to get bolted back. It's kind of shoved out of the way. Make sure everything is lined up good. And, then I can put the big pulley on. And now there's one more thing I want to check. You guys got to remind me, and I think this is the only kill here. And I'm going to take this off. Yeah, see, she's corroded. I was having some issues. It's either corroded, I have to get my glasses on to check to see, but I want to check this switch, and occasionally it will stutter. So, like it's getting a kill signal. So I want to look into that before we turn everything over and put everything down. And then of course we just want to put, I've already done it, but we'll put a little lithium and some chain wax in a few spots, like here and a few other spots. It's already been basically lubed, but while we're here, and I don't see any way to, there's no drain that I'm aware of here. This I think might be an adjuster. It may not be a drain. I don't know, and I don't want to touch it because it's got flats here. So I'm thinking this is some kind of an adjustment. I don't think there's any way to drain this. I think you kind of put it together. It might just be greased because it's just a spicer gear arrangement. Right? It's just gears, which is, if it's kept in good shape, right, it's not going to have all those problems that you have with like some of the tough torque. I can't see anything wrong with this, but everything got lubed with a combination of white grease and chain wax. Everything in here, right? So we have the drive belt on, and that's all good to go. Everything's bolted up and tight and nice. And then the deck belt will just wrap around this. You just kind of bend these little bendy tangs out of the way, and that's just a keeper. Everything back here is all lubed and tight, belts on. And of course, as I was turning over the motor, it vomited. That's tight, that bolt is tight. It vomited, right? Yep, like I said. All right, I'm gonna put it down on all fours, get some oil in it, and we have to finish hooking up the motor, and then we'll put the deck on. By the way, fellas, look how clean it is. Doesn't this look nice? You can see why I want to keep it, right? I even sprayed some white lube in there, right, for the pivot. Maybe I'll hit it again a little bit more, just so it has a nice pivot. This thing's really nice. All right, let me get it down. All right, before I put the battery in, see this, like there's a rivet here. It's basically like a rivet. It's like a big rivet. And what that is that's part of the detent for the deck height, and it will pop out. Oh yeah, you can't have that happening. So I'm just gonna give it a quick clean, with my grinder thing or whatever, my little cookie. And then I'm just going to, just a couple of tack welds just to hold it in place, and we'll be done. My battery's in, all that's wired up. I don't know if you guys can see it. You see it in there? Yeah, I got a nice couple of tags in there. That's looking good. All right, we're not going to have a problem with that. Just going to keep going. All right, sharpen up the blade. It's in good shape. It could probably use a new one. And I actually sharpened up the upper area too, I think last time, to give it a bit more of that kind of, you know, multi-type blade mulch. I took a little metal over here, just off, just to balance it a little bit more. It needed it. But the ends are getting at a square, and it's getting rolled back. This looks great. All right, put a little no-sees on it, and we're going to climb on, go grab it and shove it underneath. Yeah, in a couple of minutes. All right, everything's on, but this side of the deck looks okay. And I want to hit these adjusters. Let me turn a little light on. And then over here, everything's on here. Look at how it's low there and then high here. So I'm going to just cycle it a bunch of times, get out my ruler, and I'm going to make an adjustment. What are you doing? What? I don't know what he wants. I think he wants me to let him in. All right, so things definitely twist and change over time. So what I've done with this one is, what I don't like is it's higher in the back than it is in the front, at least in this position, which is pretty much all the way down. So I take a piece of furring strip underneath, it's lath, and then a couple of paint sticks. Oh, jeepers, yelling at me. What's the matter, Bo? Huh? What? What? All right, I gotta go let him in. What do you want? Huh? He wants me to go let him in. All right, hold on. Be right there. So what I did was, it's the same thing on the other side, and what I did was, you take a look here, they're numbered, but they're progressively different height holes. So I just turned it until it hit the hole that I wanted. Actually, it already fell in there. Wait. Well, that one's a, I don't know, 6 or something. That's a 7, that's no good, see? That one's close. And this one's probably up a little higher. So I think this is the one that we might want. Yeah, it lets it down a little bit lower. Pull it back a little. And then, as I come, let me get the flashlight. As I come over to here, same setup. And this one's already in, and I believe it's the lowest. Yeah, it's at the lowest hole. So that's already there. And the front is just touching the deck of the lift. So this is the lowest setting, which, you know, I would never use. So I think that'll do it. Let me just throw the clips on there, the pins. And tomorrow I'll put the back on, and I'll probably cut the lawn because it needs it, and I could just give it a test and then blow it off and give it a cleaning and take some pictures, and I guess we'll put it up for sale, right? Why not? Right? As much as I hate to, you guys know I hate selling this thing, but I got so many projects, and this one, you know, you would feel pretty confident with selling it. I don't know what else could be the electrical potential issue. Could be this. And if I run into a problem, when you disconnect this wire, the circuit closes and acts as if you're off the seat, and will kill, it will definitely kill the engine. So if it does anything tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll pull this off and I'll stick an insulator in there of some kind and continue driving, and that'll give me the test. Other than that, she's mint. I just gave this a quick rinse, but it's full of carbon. We're going to get that cleaned up, and we'll put it back in, and hopefully I'll check later on to see what it looks like. There we go. That's cleaner. Put a little bit of no-sees on the threads. About, not quite 38 thousandths, 28 to 30. Should be good. All right. Bunch of primes.